Hello everyone, I'm Lenny Pinna, and I'm the editor of this book, A Face from Uranus, Correspondence between Tedd Burr and Henry Bellamann, 1943 to 1945. I'm also the screenwriter for the TV series In the Name of Jamie Wakefield. 'Tis the night before Christmas, and I'm going to read Part 4 of Episode 2, Hidden in Bellevue. You may remember that we left off in Part 3 with Ted having stomped out to the goat house to sing in rebelliousness a German lead song to the neighborhood loudly, and Minnie French the goat starts bucking at the goat house because Ted said that she disliked Wagner more than his father. So at this point, I also want to tell you that this script, from here on out, there's at times a sense of work in progress because I spend much of my time honing the pilot, but that's what a producer really needs to read or see first. There are some times when I'm inserting some scenes that I know what the scene is about, but I haven't fully developed it, and I will tell you about those in a couple of spots. This first one is where it will begin. So I'm inserting a scene where Ted is in his father's workshop area, where his father has this big, wonderful tool chest. And Ted is working on cutting pieces of wood and making a little makeshift puppet theater, and he's also working on little puppet figures. His father, Floyd, happens to walk by, sees Ted working on this. You can tell he has a slight acknowledging smile that he's glad Ted is working on building something, which is a craft associated with him, so it's something that he understands. But he's also working on a puppet theater, and of course, Floyd doesn't have much feeling about that part at all. We then cut to the interior of a church hall in Bellevue at night. A vocal recital by Miss Josephine Sammis White is in progress. Dressed in a long black gown with a little white collar, she sings beautifully Un bel dive from Puccini's Madame Butterfly. She has one lazy eye that occasionally slides sideways while she's singing. Ted is entranced with her performance. We cut to the exterior of the church hall where Ted is speaking with Miss White. I saw your advertisement looking for new students. I would like to study opera with you. Josephine. How delightful! Please visit me next Saturday at 11 o'clock sharp. Bring with you a brand new notebook, and be sure to cut out a picture of an opera singer that you admire and paste it on the front cover. We jump cut to the interior of the home of Miss Sammis White. It's her parlor, daytime. Ted shows Miss White his notebook, which is practically filled with pictures from front to back of all the Metropolitan Opera's greatest stars, Lily Pons, Enzio Pinza, etc., and Kirsten Flogstad is on the front cover. Josephine is in surprise. My goodness, such adoration! I see you left very little room for your actual lessons. We cut to a scene which I'm calling another inserted scene. And this is where we're back at Josephine's parlor. Ted is having a lesson. When they stop for a moment, Ted tells her that the annual high school singing competitions are going to come up, and he has no one to sponsor him since he's not in the glee club. And he asks her if she would sponsor him. She, of course, then does go down to the application center to get an application and enters Ted into the contest. We now cut to the interior of the school gymnasium's vocal competition, daytime. Ted is singing a beautiful rendition of Schumann's German lied, Bethan das Gott dich erlät, so rein und so schön, while the judge and others listen. Some are spellbound. Some are insecure about having to compete with Tedd's performance. His teacher, Miss White, is simply aglow. We cut to the interior of the school hallway outside the gymnasium. Miss Samus White and Tedd approach the competition posting board. They are perplexed and heartbroken when they see that the word disqualified is printed in the column where Tedd's score should be listed. Cut back to the interior of the school gymnasium. After the last segment of competition concludes, Miss Samus White approaches the judge's table. "Excuse me, sir. Why, may I ask, have you disqualified my young student from competition? What possibly could he have done wrong?" "My dear, you've done an excellent job with your student. Don't worry. The boy's future is bright. His talent is a superior one. Yet it does often take a long time for a young boy's voice to change and mature. You must know that I enjoyed his performance immensely. His musicianship was wonderful. His German was superb. He was the only one who even bothered to sing in a foreign language. But, my dear, you entered him in the wrong category. He's not a tenor. He's a soprano. Had you entered him as a soprano, I would have sent him on to the state competition." Miss Samus White, with an ashen expression, turns to see a dejected Tedd, standing on the sidelines waiting for the news. He looks at her expression and knows it will not be good news. Cut to the interior of Tedd's bedroom and the outside hallway. After the doctor finishes examining Tedd, he walks out of the room to meet his mother, Helen, in the hallway. The doctor: "I'm not certain that there is one particular cause for his condition. It seems that Tedd has had various difficulties with life over an extended period of time, which have collected and settled into what I would call a general malaise. He's weak and fatigued. I'd call him dispirited, because he doesn't really exhibit a desire for his condition to improve. When he speaks of it, he seems rather resigned." "So what can we do for him?" "I think that he should just rest a while and not be made to do anything. I'd be concerned that any more of life's pressures could push him further into an even more unpleasant state. I wouldn't want him to harm himself in any way." "God forbid, no!" "I'm going to write a recommendation that he take a leave of absence from school for medical reasons, until we see some improvement. Without disturbing him much, you should keep a strong watch on him. Be discreet, bring him his food, look in on him, but let him come out of his shell on his own." Cut to the interior of the Bellevue High School. There is a makeshift photo studio. The students are getting their high school pictures taken for the annual yearbook. Tedd is dressed in a one-size-too-large suit, jacket, and tie. His hair is cut shorter, and he wears glasses. He looks pale and sickly. He is trying to recede into the background while waiting for his turn. We jump cut to Tedd sitting on the stool, posed for the photo shoot. The photographer is the same one from episode 1. "How about a smile?" Tedd doesn't respond. "Just a slight smile?" Tedd sinks further into his shell. "Okay, then. 1, 2, 3. Flash." We cut to the interior of the Burr home, living room. Tedd's parents are looking at his photo proofs. Helen to Floyd: Which one do you like? They all look serious. Not like him tall. I think it's his illness. It has him down. I think I like this one. He looks studious. Teddy is a good student. Ted enters the room. Teddy, I like this photo. I think it represents you best. You look like the good student that you are. None of them are me. They just represent what people want me to be. Teddy, you have to pick one for the high school annual and for our wall. Ted looks up at the wall at the family photos. The senior photos of Lynn and Martha are prominently displayed. Cut to a wide shot of the room. Ted is irritated. I don't care which one. Pick the one you want. You're the ones that have to look at it for the rest of your lives. Helen and Floyd look at each other, speechless. Cut to the interior of Henry's study, daytime. Henry is reading Ted's letter. Catherine knocks, then pokes her head in the doorway. Am I disturbing you at a critical point? No, I'm just reading a letter. My, that's quite a long letter. It's from a confused boy in Ohio. He recently wrote to me in anguish after reading King's Row. Catherine peers at him with suspicion. He identifies with the character Jamie Wakefield. I see. He's hoping I can help him with his predicament. Oh? He wants to tell me his life story so I can help him to better understand his nature. Perhaps he can help you with your predicament. Perhaps this is the one theme that you could deal with quite successfully in the sequel. I can't imagine how he could help the situation. By helping him, you help yourself with the difficulty in facing the past, which coincidentally may also help your writer's block. Henry's getting a little hot under the collar. You know very well where that will lead me. Back to Albert, who is someone I choose not to think about. That's exactly what you may very well need, to once and for all rid yourself of his psychic residue. Wouldn't Freud think it's best to go back to the past to best understand and heal the past? You make your point, psychologically speaking. I think Dr. Paris Mitchell would agree that the past will continue to cling to the present until a psychological scalpel cuts it out for good. Henry listens. The way I see it, you could kill two birds with one stone. What's that supposed to mean? You can put your past with Albert to rest while you write about Dr. Paris Mitchell returning to King's Row. He can help his suffering friend, Jamie Wakefield, to overcome his tragic fragility. That's a rather harsh diagnosis. Not at all. It would be most noble of Dr. Mitchell to treat Jamie's condition with both a warm and personal compassion and also a cool and clinical dissection. Henry is attentive. Having known Jamie in a very particular way since childhood, I would think Dr. Mitchell could simultaneously heal both his patient and a particular part of himself at the same time. But Jamie is his friend, not his patient. As the new director of the Bellevue State Sanitarium, Dr. Mitchell could advise Jamie to commit himself under his direct supervision. For what purpose? To rehabilitate him. You mean to change him? To transform him from the inside out? I could see how one would think that to be quite plausible. I think Dr. Mitchell would embrace the notion as being quite cutting edge in terms of research and treatment for such a mentally debilitating condition. Consequently, he could become a preeminent voice within the emerging new field of psychoanalysis, and perhaps even a leading expert in the practice of behavior modification. That would be a tremendous accomplishment, worth writing about. I can see it all quite clearly from your particular point of view. Now I must find my own. But of course, dear, I'm just trying to help you so that you can begin to put your point of pen to paper. Was there something in particular you came in here for? Yes, I received 2 complimentary tickets to Wagner's Lohengrin at the Met for tonight. Do you wish to join me? Is Melchior singing the lead? You know he is. Then I won't be joining you. That's what I presumed. I already asked Estelle if she would be your understudy for the evening. I presumed you would, since I'm sure you'd much prefer me to be at home writing this evening. They exchanged forced grins. After she exits, Bellamann goes back to reading Tedd's letter. This is the end of part 4. So if you have any questions or comments or any perceptions of the episode as how it's going along or relates to episode 1, feel free to put comments below and we'll have discussions. So, happy holidays to you. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time for part 5.